It is about you. You are the selling point, and the landscape is changing. So be your authentic self, because no one wants to go to work being miserable all day. Look at your own resume, look at your own LinkedIn, and look at your impact and what you have provided for that other company. And if you write things in that context, you're going to talk to the next employer.
In my opinion, it's about giving the customer what they really want and just blowing their mind once they get it. And that's what I really love to see, honestly.
Get people to do more of home cooking, home cooked meals, healthy meals, so we can all live long and happy.
I'm very proud to be a mom, because not for nothing, women are amazing.
Oh my God, the sacrifice, and how we make it look so easy.
I was just telling Joanne before we got on the call, I said I had to run from my daughter's school. They had an Easter egg hunt. I said, all right, Mom, I gotta go to work. But you know, just as moms, we make it happen. You know, supernatural abilities. We are the example for them, you know, and I know that with them being a better version of us.
You have to try. You never know how creative you are until you try. Because I didn't think I was creative. I found my creative side during a horrible time in my life.
Hello. Welcome. It is Thursday, and I'm really excited about today. We have a very special guest. But before we even go into that, I just want to say welcome. Happy October, y'all. It is October the 3rd. We are in the fourth quarter, the first month of the fourth quarter. So that means in my world, the mad dash to New Year's. So anybody else feeling the pressure of like New Year's on its way and all of the holidays and all of those things, I feel like they get jammed in together and time just speeds through to the end. So happy October, everyone. It's my favorite season, the fall. So I am really looking forward to this. We are in a season of preparation as we are going into voting season. And so it was very paramount for us to start conversations and to make our October all about voting, not about who to vote for, but understanding the mechanics behind what voting is all about. A lot of us, including myself, I've heard words time and time again, but I never really knew what the words meant or what the, like gerrymandering or when they say electoral college, like what all of these things really mean. How are they chosen? Who gets to put these people in office? And that's always been a challenge because when we say we need you to go out to vote, people are like, oh, my vote doesn't count. And so today we are going to be talking a little bit more about why your vote does count. So we're excited to introduce someone very near and dear to my heart, my brother, Angus Fischer, a passionate community leader and activist who has been dedicated to the borough of Brooklyn for over 15 years. Born and raised in Brownsville, Angus has worked tirelessly to empower his community, advocating for self-sustainable growth and positive change. And that he definitely has. In today's session, the topic is the freedom to vote. And we have had so many things that have come against us in giving us the opportunity to be able to vote. And to also remember that it wasn't long ago, like it was only 2 generations ago, that we were given the right to even vote. So Angus will discuss the vital role voting plays in shaping our communities. He will cover essential topics such as election day procedures, where and when to vote, and why every vote matters. His deep commitment to Brooklyn and his leadership in fostering engagement makes him the perfect guide for this critical conversation. So let's welcome Angus to the stage. Hello. How you doing?
Hello. Thank you for that warm introduction. It touched my heart. And it spoke very passionate about the work that I do here in Brooklyn, specifically East New York, East Brooklyn. But we don't leave out any part of Brooklyn because Brooklyn is, if you're from Brooklyn, you know.
Exactly. And always from Brooklyn. Even though I'm here in Georgia, I will always be a Brooklynite till I die. So, Angus, as we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself. What exactly do you do in East Brooklyn?
So in East Brooklyn, I wear multiple hats. I have my own nonprofit organization, Innovative Resilience East Brooklyn Village, where we bring the community together through sharing information and engagement. We are focused on self-sufficiency and getting our people in the community to play a part and setting up block associations, merchants associations, and tenant associations as the local foundation of connecting with the residents in the community. I am on the board of directors for Brownsville Heritage House. I sit as the corresponding secretary for Community Board 5. I am currently in the process of, uh, running for a seat for our 75th Precinct Council. So I'm very active and very involved in the community out here in East Brooklyn.
Yes, you are. That is a lot. That is a lot of hats to wear. And we thank you for the work that you are continuing to do in the community to give people a voice. You mentioned a couple of different things, and I'm not sure people even are aware or understand what they are and their relevance to when it comes to voting. Because I think a lot of people sometimes only see the day that they go out and vote as the only opportunity that they get to make a change in their community or to have a say in their community. So can you talk about some of the different areas that you just shared, whether it be the 75th Precinct Council, whether it be block associations, community associations, like all of those things, and how they play into people being able to vote or have a say in their community?
Okay, so let me paint a picture. Let me kind of broaden it out to bring it back in. So local politics, where it affects us, the local people, most keenly, we most of us don't participate in those portions of it. So when it comes down to real local and real, the politics can get as close to in your home, with the way how your family deals with different issues and settles it. Is it democratic? Is it, or is it, in a sense that I'm telling you what to do and you just got to follow the rules? So that's where it starts in the home, but then it expands to your residence where you live in. You live in a building, maybe it's just 2 tenants, or maybe it's 100 tenants, but you should get to know your neighbor. You should know your neighbor. And if you have 6 or more units, your building or your dwelling is able to have a tenants association. A tenants association is the most localist part of government. And from there, residents and tenants get to have their voices heard. They get to vote on different things that they want to happen within that building, etc. Then you go out to block associations. A block association brings everybody, all of those buildings together. So you may have multiple buildings on a block with multiple tenants and tenant associations. The tenant association presidents would typically sit in on the block association meeting so that they can bring that information back to the tenants that live within that dwelling. Now, we have the Merchants Association. A Merchants Association is keen to the economics of a community. Without that, we really don't have much of a voice, as you would later learn with this whole voting and how it persists. you having having capital, having a dollar, having ownership of living somewhere was all barriers to why we couldn't vote, or measures that they put in place to prevent us from being able to vote, shall I say. Then you have the community board. The community board is where all block associations will kind of come together, and they would raise their opinions or their concern for different things collectively. They'll meet collectively. They'll figure out strategies collectively. But then the community board definitely is that first step into the real world of politics. Not saying or negating any of those other factors beforehand, but that's when you see the real fight starts to happen. Because when projects come into the community, they have to sit and come before the community board, where we vote on them, either vote them up or vote them down. And that's the local hand of politics. And then you have the local politicians, which are community leaders. You have male and female Democratic leader, and a male and female Republican district leader for every assembly district, which we call ADs.
So you just broke it down in such an eloquent way, and I think that is very helpful, because there, I knew of, but the way you made it, outlined it, I felt like was very helpful, and how one kind of plays into the other, and how they all kind of help inform each other, so that as we continue to move up the ranks, and we get to like our local councils and district reps and stuff like that. So essentially, like you're saying, that community board is kind of where all of those minds kind of meet, and that those conversations happen. And essentially where the council members and will then have to represent what their community board has shared. That was very helpful. And I hope all of you got a chance to really take that in and understand, because a lot of people, I feel, especially in East Brooklyn, are like, we've been doing our Juneteenth event, East Brooklyn, for going on 16 years. And people are like, oh, I never knew anything about it. And I'm like, well, how? Like, we are at every meeting, we're talking about it. So where were you? They're like, oh, well, I don't really go to things in my community, or I really don't, engage in my community at all. And it's like, you're doing yourself and your community a disservice. Because if you live wherever you live, you need to be invested in it, because whatever happens in that community affects you. If they change the days of the pickup for the garbage, that affects you. If they change, I don't know, taxes or fees or things like that in the community, that affects you. What happens with the supermarkets, what buildings, what companies come into the community, that affects you. So go into these meetings and making your vote known is, like you said, the best way to be able to have a vote and to actually see it.
And not to cut you off, but there's definitely with community boards, there's a portion. So if you attend 4 or more community board committee meetings, you as a community member, you get the opportunity to sign up and be a voting community committee member. So you may not be able to join the community board, because they it's every 2 years they do elections. So definitely I employ everybody that's interested to go to their local borough's website and apply, so that you can get put on the waiting list. But definitely in the interim of doing that, and it would definitely support your application, is start attending the committee meetings, start coming to the general board meetings. That counts towards your activity in the community, and you get to know what it is that you really, you have a say-so. And it's, to me, that is so important, because you as an individual, you go to these meetings, and a lot of times you don't feel like I can be heard, or I'm just being spoken to. But this keen factor right there just gives you that ability to be heard and to have your vote counted on the committee level. And the committees, like in a general board meeting, we respect the committee's decisions that they make because they took the time to vet through the businesses that came there, the community people that came crying, pouring their soul out for the things that really affect them.
Yeah.
And that's real keen that they be able to have that voice on that very local level, because your voice gets lost the higher you complain. And we have our going into the elected officials and everything, with the localist of elected officials being those community leaders, but then they sit on the back, they sit underneath city council, and then you got assembly, and you got congressional, you got senate, and then before president. So everybody comes out and votes for presidential elections.
Yeah.
Most people, shall I say, come out and vote for presidential elections. But for our local elections, we have very poor turnout. Very poor turnout in the 60th Assembly District in East New York, East Brooklyn. We have well over 60,000 residents, and less than 50% of them come out and vote. And that's disgusting in my opinion. We need to find ways to reach them more. We need to find ways to encourage them. We need to get the information in their hands so that they can know who is running and who they should vote for. Not because you're friends with somebody or you knew them from back in the days, but literally, what are they standing for? What is the message that they're bringing home? How are they supporting us locally and abroad? Because when you think about it, you have to kind of balance it. So local, yes, it is very important to focus local, but a lot of local changes are kind of, how do you say this, glass ceilinged by federal laws, and it makes it harder for that bottom support to happen and manifest. So this is where you need to work in tandem and keep your elected officials involved in some of the concerns that's happening. And the community board is definitely that place that wraps it all up together, and they'll actually fight for you, supporting you and with you.
I love that. You definitely encouraged me I always heard you going to community board meetings, and even going live so that people who could not be there. I think COVID was like one of the best times because so many people were able to just connect from their own homes while they're taking care of their children or getting things ready. And that's always my biggest pet peeve. I'm like, what are we, the people who are able to come out to the meetings more likely are either seniors or are people who are retired or stay at home family members, like individuals who stay at home work or work from home. It's very hard to have a family, have children, be able to like make sure food is prepared and homework is done and all that other stuff to get ready and still be present in your community. Can you talk to some of the ways that you have spoken up about how you've helped in those ways?
Oh yes, definitely. One of the keen ways that I am and how I have been showing up in those ways to kind of bridge the gap, seeing as how, yes, I'm 35 years old, so I still consider myself to be young, but I'm in that middle phase where I can connect with the youth and still be respected by the seniors or the older adults, as they're calling it now. And so I have, with my knowledge, put together like recording. So I'm a keen believer that a public meeting should be able to be disseminated, and it should meet people where they're at. If I can meet you where you're at and bring you along the journey with me, I'm more likely to win you over than if I'm just forcing you to come somewhere or to do something. It's like if I'm bringing the information to you in a sense that we're recording the meetings, we're trying to plug it into different spaces that you won't see it. And that's what one of the reasons why I formed my nonprofit organization, connecting the block associations and the tenant associations, because I saw a gap that needed to be filled. And in order to do that, you had to gain the support of those people that don't come out. So you mentioned though that not being able to make food, or you having to take care of children and do homework and things of that nature. I currently am bringing that up in conversations now across New York City, where how do we meet more of the people's needs to get people out to community meetings and public meetings? So one of the concerns is that childcare. So they don't want that respectfully, they don't want their child to disrupt the meeting, so they don't come out. Or maybe their child needs to do homework, and they help their children with homework, so they can't come out. The meetings run late, so they can't prepare supper or meal, excuse me, when they get in or before they leave, so they don't come out. What's interesting about East New York meetings, a lot of our meetings, mostly prior to the pandemic, but we're kind of getting back into the groove of things. Um, we had meals, we had dinner at all of our meetings. So we made sure that if you was giving your time to be here for this important occasion, that your belly was not grumbling or your stomach was not touching your back by the time you left this meeting. So that is something that we're working on bringing back in, but with the inflation that's going on, it's kind of hard for certain restaurants in the community to donate as much as they did before. So we're working on forming some of these partnerships in the community, bringing the entrepreneurs out, bringing those Black and brown businesses, and even, some of those long-term businesses in the community. They may not even have been Black or brown, but they're long-term businesses that service the community, trying to rope them in so that they can contribute in a way by giving back to the community and answering some of those needs. Childcare is a big concern for a meeting. So it's like having a space and some trained, licensed professionals that's there to engage the youth in a separate space where they're not interrupting, and the parent knows that their child is being taken care of and they're not too far away from them.
Yeah. That definitely makes sense. So, I mean, you talked a lot about just your passion overall and changing things. What would you say has inspired you overall to get involved in a community in the first place?
So we got to take that back to my childhood in that in that sense. So it goes far back to my childhood when I'm seeing, for me to see things that I know is wrong, or know we don't have the ability to affect or change, that was kind of instilled within me. And when I got this opportunity to be able to have my voice heard, to be able to stand for not just myself, but others that have some of the same concerns as me.
Yeah.
It was breathtaking to know that I had this right, had this ability, but yet I didn't have the education to know that I had that. I didn't. So it was something that I had, a tool in my tool chest that I could use to fight forward and, fight for the disenfranchised, all of the negative, all the things that's being put towards us or towards me, keeping it on the eye for, myself. And the more I got to learn, the more I came to meetings, the more I was feeling like, wow, this was something that I felt should have been taught to me in school. I should have been taught this, the voting process in school. I should have been taught how important it was to have my voice heard. I should have known all of these factors and how I was able to shift the narrative from us, not having some of the keen things that we need, like fighting, food, free meals and stuff like that. And, when you are lacking at home, and sometimes there's certain other areas that are there to support you. And that's, we could go down a rabbit hole as to why I decided to get involved in community and how beneficial it has been for me myself and for the community around me. Just going through personal, situations in my life, and how the community actually stepped up and stepped in to show their support and really like show their love and like, look, I see you. I see the person you are, and oh no, it's not going to go down like this. So what can I do to help? How can I support? How can I show up for you like you have been showing up for everyone and all of us so much?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, it gets me emotional. So yeah, you hear my voice a little cracking a little bit. It's
and
like,
that's okay. It's okay. Definitely okay. Appreciate you sharing that, and just even so what I heard you say is that you giving to the community and then seeing how much the community has also given back to you. And I know that was very paramount in you starting your nonprofit organization. So can you talk a little bit about your organization and what it specifically it does?
yes, so Innovative Resilience East Brooklyn Village Incorporated is my nonprofit organization that we sort of are embodying all of the principles of the gaps within community, specifically in the melanated community. I coined that term melanated because we're trying to move to a more empowering term than just black or brown. Melanated, it has substance. But with my nonprofit organization, we we are connecting the localist level of residents in the community by setting up these block associations and or connecting to existing ones to help elevate them. We are giving them the power, giving them the voice, giving them that support, and knowing that they're not alone. Where block associations, they used to be very influential, but for whatever reason, we have shifted away from it. We have shifted towards more higher, reaching out to higher levels so that we can try to get some answers to things. Block associations, they do so much. For you to have a block association, did you know, shall I say, if you had a block association, you can apply for funding so that you can beautify the block, so that you can have a pot of money there, so that you all can vote on how that money gets used on that block. You can even use it to help out a neighbor that don't have the finances to do repairs on their home. So this is how them coming together. A block association has its own superpowers outside of some of the, the elected discretionary funding and things of that nature. If your neighbor's roof fell in or they have a leak, the winter is coming. You all on the block can vote to use some of that money that y'all either raised or that y'all did apply for grants for, to fix their roof, to have a new facade on that building or that home and everything. But it's about reimagining the capabilities of a block association, using some of those gray areas that typically the elites use to get over on communities of color, using that power so that we can be on the same platform, because we don't have to sit and squander. We don't have to be in our house with violations. We don't have to suffer in silence. In New York City, there are funds for almost any and everything, and if it's not, more voices you have, the more that will be a concern and the more it will be addressed. So that's on the block association level. On the tenant association, just building tenants support and tenants rights, tenants voices. There's a whole host of ways that can support each other and it can help each other out. With a tenants association, there's in East New York and in Brownsville, there's a lot of homelessness, there's a lot of substance abuse.
Yeah.
And with that, we have a lot of that population coming into these buildings and sleeping in the stairwells,
Wow.
harassing the residents that live within those buildings, defecating in front of doors, for sleeping in front of people's doors to the point where they feel like it's unsafe and unsanitary, where they call out of work because they feel afraid to leave their apartment in
Wow.
their own building. Let alone the homeowner, where homeless people are sleeping in front of their home, where they have to step over them at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning to get out to work and drop their children to school. So it's very, and these are why some of these things are so important, and we definitely need to look at other ways of how we can move forward, more innovative ways of stepping into the future so that we're not falling into the same traps or the same pitfalls that our parents or our grandparents fell into. They fought for ownership. And we need to be looking at things in that mindset. So there's a couple of bills that are kind of up, trying to go to support tenants' rights and the right for tenants to actually own their apartment, and the right for the tenants to come together and put a action in against bad actors, bad landlords, and they can end up owning the building. They can end up owning their property. They can be a co-op owner. They can have collaborative ownership of that property. So it's so many superpowers once you get to know your rights, what it is that you have within you to do. At the economics, as far as the the merchants associations. Merchants associations are so keen to our communities, and if you take the time to walk around your melanated community, you would see how they are. We're at war.
Yeah.
We're at war with our life, with our economics. This is economic warfare, where they cut us off from us being able to make the dollar so that we can afford to live within the communities that we want to live in, the communities that we grew up in, the communities that we poured our soul and energy into. They equip us, well, they disenfranchise us in a way where we're not able to afford the commercial spaces within our community. We're not able to, we don't have the education to, once we do get that loan, and however we manage to get it and get into a space, we wasn't equipped with the education to in how to run that space,
Right.
how to keep our bills in order, how to cover our overhead, and then our take home. So without that, we look at that take home as the money that's coming in, that raw money, that dollar. You see, okay, I had 10 people come into my store and they spent $100 each. It's $1,000. But you're not looking at it as, okay, that's not money to take home. That's money that needs to be, a percentage of that needs to be reinvested into the business so that you can pay your light bill, pay the internet bill. You can have a cushion in case something happens, a machine break. You can call a repair person to have them come and repair it, where you're not out of business losing money. So these are some of the factors that aren't being taught to us and hasn't been taught to us, where my organization, I feel that we can step in and create those, create a framework, a foundation, a model that we can plug into our melanated communities and build each other up, because it's not a crabs in a barrel model anymore. We're actually coming to a place where if we don't collaboratively work together, that we're not going to have anything left to fight for. We're just going to be then conforming to the narrative. And if you're like me, I'm not looking to conform to the narrative of what it is that's going on, because it's not at all good. The narrative that is being placed on us, placed into us, by society, by the powers that be, it's kind of telling us that working for someone is the best that we can do. And if we are providing you with what is necessary for you to live, which they're not, then you shouldn't complain. You should just take what it is that we're giving you and be happy and live your life. But that's not what we're here or put on this earth to do. I am, I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in God. I'm a Christian, and I have a spiritual calling on my life. And I do know that we have certain specific abilities, and we have a reason why we're all here, and it's not just to exist or just to work for somebody. We have to create change, meaningful change in our communities. We need to create meaningful change in our lives and our families, and ultimately, how can we bring each other together globally under this one cloak of, there's no difference amongst who we are, but we just support each other, because we got to get out of this mindset that it's one or the other, because we can all make it. It's enough for us all to eat.
Well, I thank you for that that view, and I too am in that space of we are the change agents that we need to be, being the change that we want to see in our community. So I thank you for creating your organization and connecting the dots, so to speak, that are not typically connected, because people are just living in silos in their community. And we had a number of people that shared the information that you have sharing has been wonders. Someone said, Virginia Dancy said, never knew that the building and block associations had benefits beyond a block party. And a lot of people think that that's all it is. It's like, oh, we're going to join a block association so that we can put together an annual block party. And then there's so much more than that. And you've shared those things. So thank you. I do want to switch gears a little bit to go into why we are here for this month and just starting. I know you've done a lot of work working for voting spaces, and we want to hear a little bit about that. So what has been your experience being at the voting polls, and what are some of the challenges that you've seen in those spaces?
Okay, so I want to say in my almost 15, 16 years of engaging in the voting process, I have worked as a poll worker. That's one of the smallest levels. I've worked as a coordinator. I worked as an affidavit clerk. I worked as a table inspector. I worked as an information clerk. I worked as a scanner inspector. I worked as a BMD inspector. I worked as an AD monitor, which is an assembly district monitor that oversees multiple sites. I've worked as an early vote coordinator. I've worked as an early vote affidavit clerk. I've worked also in helping with line management, and those are just some of all of the positions that they kind of have on the local level for community to get involved with the elections.
So I want to break some of those down, right? Because you talked about like what is the lowest levels where people. So I go into vote. I'm a layman's person. I go into vote and I see I go to that first table, and the person is there. Okay, and so the information table. In some states, I know that is also the space that people are checking IDs or making sure, like validating that you belong there, that you're able to vote in that space, correct? If they don't have like their cards.
Correct. Just want to make a keen point that the New York Board of Elections make sure that we mention we in New York, we don't have voter IDs. It's illegal for anybody working in a poll site to ask you for a voter ID card. It's a right, and it's not every state that has that, but in the state of New York, there is no such thing as voter ID cards. What they do send you is a scannable card with a barcode that connects you to, it's called a fast pass.
Got it.
So in New York State, it's a fast pass that you scan, and you can basically, it tells you exactly where you go, what table you go to, and you can skip all of the people. You can skip the information clerk if you even have that, if you know where you're gonna vote. But that's one of just wanted to point that out.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know that. And that is a great keen, because a lot of people are like, oh, I got to have my voter card or then I can let me vote. And it really is not about that. So that's good to know. So now I come in and I go to the table. There are two people at the table. Can you explain what these two individuals who are at the tables are doing and why?
So when you go to the voter site, there's always going to be two people at a table, if not more. But the two people at a table is called a bipartisanship. A bipartisanship means that you have a Democrat and you have a Republican. And the reason why that's important is a checks and balance system. In order, so that there's not saying that, oh, there's two Democrats at the table, so they're moving democratically for the Democrats. They're moving in their pocket, or there's two Republicans, so they're moving in their pocket. We have this bipartisanship so that it can be fairly, and that's at every station, at every interval, except for the information table. You might not have bipartisanship because those are people that are trained specifically just to give information. They don't have a party association, even though they may, but for that day, they don't have a party association. And also line managers as well. They're there to help facilitate lines, as this election we're expecting to be very robust. Line managers came online during the Obama election when they saw that lines were blocks long. And we needed some management of the lines. There were fights happening online. There were people skipping lines. We needed to figure out a way to prioritize certain people. So people with ADA that had ADA, people that were ADA compliant, making sure that we're ADA compliant, shall I say, and trying to accommodate the seniors. So we created two lines, and to bring those people up to the front, so whenever they came, that they can just get in and out, because we believe in it to be fair. And we're not gonna have an 80-year-old lady waiting on a line for an hour and a half, 2 hours to cast a vote, when She was here before before we was even out here voting. You know, like come on, you have pioneered it.
Vote. So you also brought up early voting, and I did want to ask because there has been conversation around early voting that when I go to early vote or if I do mail-in voting, that my vote doesn't count. Can you share any information about that?
So for early vote, let's touch on early vote first. Early vote is your vote definitely counts. It's like in either or both, they all count, shall I say.
Okay.
Early vote gives you the opportunity to get out and vote. You have 9 days prior to the main election day to get out and vote. So I see this as a huge benefit for people that can utilize it and they should be utilizing it because you may have different schedules and things that you're going through and going to in the time frame, so you don't make it out on election day. But now you got 9 other days to go out and cast your vote. So it could be like, okay, you may have went the first day and you forgot something or whatever, and you wanted to make sure that you had that. You can say, oh, I'll come back tomorrow. Oh, maybe I'll come back a little later on. You can do that. You know, some of our seniors in the community, they do that. They definitely come and they're like, oh, well, I don't know the people on the ballot. Now that I came here and I saw the names that was on there, let me go do some research. I'll come back in a day or two where they have the ability to be more knowledgeable and more equipped to cast their vote. And
so I do want to ask a question about that because you mentioned, and that is also something I find a challenge for myself. Is there a place where people can go and find like what's going to be on the ballot for their area? Because I know I too have gone, and you know, we can't have our phones, or we're not supposed to have our phones inside the voting booths. But a lot of times I'll be like, who's this person? I need to, I'm trying to find out. Like, I've never heard of these names. So like, I just came to vote for presidency. There's like 20 other people on here that's also I need to vote on. Need to vote on judges. I got to vote on, I don't know, a new law or a new introduction of law that they want to come in, or taxes that they want to start to create. Is there a place where we can find what's going to be voted on so that we're not having to come and then be like, all right, let me go research and I'm come back?
So there is a place in, I guess, every state and every city or county, I guess, may be different. But for us here in New York City, we have 2 medians that we can go to find the information, which is the department. Well, not department. We have the Board of Elections. You can go to the Board of Elections website, and it has a whole breakdown of the candidates that's going to be running. You can also go to the state website, which is what's the state website name? Yeah, you have it displayed on the screen there, but it's New York State election. They have everything going on in the whole state of New York, and you can find it's a specific slot on there, I believe, where you can find the candidates that should be running. But I know locally in New York City, the Board of Elections, they do a great job with trying to make it way more user-friendly. So I speak from a space of working with them for a whole lot of years, and how they just make it so much friendlier. You can go to the website, you can put in where do I vote. It's going to give you a whole pop-up. You can even Google where do I vote, and there's going to be a whole drop down of different things that come on for you to just punch in your address, and they'll give you your ED, AD, your block, your your early voting site. Oh yes, definitely want to make sure to highlight two big points. Your early voting site may not be your actual voting site for election day. So it's two separate sites. An early voting site is a compilation of, well, a cluster of sites within a certain space, so that it's not every single site. We're not shutting the whole community down to, do early vote, but there's keen locations within the community for you to go and cast your vote early. And then also to make sure that, in New York City, there's going to be two papers that you're going to receive, but it's going to be on front and back. So make sure you flip the ballot. That's the thing. Flip the ballot. There's information on both sides. Most people just do the front of both sides and think it's done and it's over. No, it's a lot of important information. There's laws that they're pulling over, that they're putting in there for us to vote on. And because they're lengthy and it's a different jargon, the language on it, we don't typically understand. So we don't fill it out. We leave it blank, or we just put no. But a lot of the times, those are some things that's there to help us. We may have ranked choice voting. I'm not a fan of it, but that's one of the things that actually got adopted in and voted in due to the lack of education of people voting in New York City, and so we didn't really know it.
So, what is ranked choice voting? Because that's something that I just learned about recently. So please share what ranked choice voting is. And then also, when you get a chance, would like to also go back to what is an AD and an ED, because a lot of people don't know what that is.
Okay, so just quickly, an AD is an election district, and an AD is assembly district. And inside the assembly district, they have multiple EDs, which are election districts. And that's basically how they map out the amount of people that vote in different communities and areas. Is how they keep tally and keep track of the voters and who comes out, who registers, and who actually voted.
So now the other part is what is ranked choice voting?
So ranked choice voting, it's hard to really understand for a lot of people, and even for myself, working with the Board of Elections for all these years. Ranked choice voting is one of my least favorite things that came out of it. But ranked choice voting is where you may have a lot of candidates. So let's just say for president, you'll have probably 10 people running for president or anything. What ranked choice does, it allows you to rank the people in the order from that you would want. So your most likely pick. So this is the person that I really want. The second choice says get the person that you really want, but not above that first person.
Got it.
And then the third one, so it kind of it keeps on going down, ranking in rank, so that you can really want all of these people to have this slot, but how can you put it in a way that if so many people voted for this person, then this person would get the number one would get it, or so that's kind of the way that I understand it. It is there is a whole lot more education that needs to be done about it, and I believe that in the local community we need to have more local voter and election knowledge being disseminated year long, so that it's not just when we go to the polls or when we have an election happening. We need to have real information really being given out to the people and getting their involvement and their buy-in.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I just also looked it up to get some more clarity. So to your point, what you're saying is each person gets to elect their first, second, and third choice, right? And then if one candidate does not receive 50% of the first choice elections, then there's no declared winner. So only if someone has more than 50%, which makes sense. So it's like if there's a three-way split and somebody has 50%, that means the other two would have had to have some formulation of a 50% breakdown. And there would that would make that one person the clear winner. But if they are, for example, if everyone has, let's say, a 40 split, 40, 40, and 30 or something like that, whoever got the 30 would be dropped off. And then if you chose that person for the second place, then those would be another set of counting that individual would get to determine their winning. So, I mean, I feel like it helps in spaces where you're like, oh, like you said, I would like this person to win, but if this person doesn't win, this will be my next choice. Because a lot of people, I feel like that makes it a little bit more easier for people to vote instead of saying, oh, I'm just not going to vote for any one of them because the person that I want to win might not win, kind of thing. So I see it more as a benefit. I do see that there could be some as they call gerrymandering happening, that ends up happening. So people are like, oh, well, just make sure you put me in second place, like, or pushing that envelope, so to speak. But we do have a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to jump down and just ask some of our takeaways. We really thank you for being here and being able to answer so many questions. We have Debbie Goins. It was very informative, especially about the tenant and block associations. I also learned about the voting process. Well, thank you for joining and sharing that. This is really a part of our Juneteenth focus for this month, and trying to get more education out there about what voting is. Because like I said, I started looking up words and I'm like, I don't even know what these words mean, or and not everyone takes the time out to go and do that. So before we head out, tell us what do you want people to walk away from today impressed upon their hearts?
So I want everybody to walk away from today with the knowledge of, feeling strong and understanding the voting process and understanding that your vote does matter and that your vote matters on so many different levels and not just at a presidential election. So it's like getting involved in community, getting involved in the local meetings that's happening, getting involved, agitating your block, your building to form an association. And my organization, Innovative Resilience East Brooklyn Village, we are here for that. You can reach out to us on we're working on our website. It should be up soon, but we're on all social media platforms and you can reach out to us at INRES, INNRES eastbrooklynvillage@gmail.com, or you can tap into any one of our partners in the community. So I definitely want you walking away with that empowerment that this election it shouldn't be overburdensome. It shouldn't be something that you feel afraid of, even though it is very pressing on us. But to get out there and find your information. Follow us, follow Juneteenth NY, because information will be posted about the ongoing election and what's going on, what's happening locally, so that we can get more of our people out there to have their voices heard. Your voice is your key to success, and without your voice, nobody's gonna know what you're going through.
Oh, that was key. I love that. Gonna use that tidbit for sure in our after promotions of today. So thank you for sharing that. And my last question to you is, what does Juneteenth mean to you?
Juneteenth is like it's embodied within me. It's a part of my soul. Juneteenth is, to me, when I hear Juneteenth, it brings joy. It brings peace. It brings awakening. It brings new opportunities. With Juneteenth, and I have been a part of our Juneteenth for so long and forever. All my life, all my life, I had to fight. No, but it's like, for real. All my life I did have to fight, and it's part of the reason why I created my organization and named it what it is. Innovation is the ability for change. It means change. Resiliency is the ability to bounce back from a bad situation. That embodies Juneteenth all by itself right there. East Brooklyn Village, well, East Brooklyn is the area that my organization serves, and the village is the mindset, the model that we need to get back to, so that we can all feel together. We can all have a place in society, in this world, and in this globe. But Juneteenth, in a whole, it means freedom. I don't look at it in the negative of what was before Juneteenth came about. The negative is what we've been through, but what did we learn from that in order to propel us forward into the future? We got to keep our eyes on the focus and learn from the past. Don't be stuck in the past. Move forward into the future, knowing how not to make the same mistake again.
Yeah, keep our eyes on the prize. Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking with you, Angus, and sharing you with the world. I get the pleasure to have these conversations on an ongoing basis with you, and I am blessed by that. And I'm glad that we were able to bless others so that they might be able to receive it as well. We hope that you have taken something from today about any of the levels of how to be engaged and to make your vote really count in your community. So thank you so much, Angus. We really appreciate you. And we'll see you backstage.
Take care. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So thank you everyone again for joining us. Just a couple of things to note. Again, we are offering our services for AR business expansion, helping you as a business owner to grow your business. A lot of us are really stuck in the space of I have to do everything. And when you're getting started with your business, that is the truth. You are everything. You are everything from the person who is doing your social media management, creating your newsletters, doing the business, and doing promotions, marketing, like all of those things. But you don't have to. There are ways to work around that. And so if you are interested, please see our QR code here. We would love to have a conversation with you and see how we might be able to help you with your business so that your business can be elevated, so it can be expanded. And a lot of the work can be taken out of your hands and put into spaces like programs that help you to multiply yourself. It is a real thing. And next, we have our next event that is coming up. Actually, this weekend is a huge weekend with so much going on. But we will be doing our pink carpet fashion and talent show. And this was actually inspired by some children who lost their lives due to cancer. October is Cancer Awareness Month. And we want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to support in that space. So this event is on October the 19th. It is from 2 to 5. Tickets are only $25, and a portion of the proceeds does go to supporting families in need who have children who have experienced cancer. If you are interested in volunteering, also you can go to the QR code. It'll take you to our website where you can sign up to support and volunteering for the day. And so that's pretty much all for me, folks. Visit our website, juneteenthny.com. We are in the throes of planning. If you're interested in being a vendor for us this coming year, we would love to have you. If you are a performer in any way, if you do modeling, if you are a designer and want to have your designs on a large platform, definitely go to our website, sign up, register, all of those things. Follow us on social media. like us on YouTube, so that we can continue to keep these kind of conversations happening and going. Let's celebrate unity, resilience, and progress together as we honor Juneteenth in the heart of New York City, Brooklyn. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate you, Angus, again, and I'll see you next Thursday, everyone. Bye.